What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate, a show we are calling The Wrap. All right, it just makes sense there, right, Marv?
It's a wrap.
It is a wrap. It's a wrap. Yeah, wrap on week one. We learned. Well, we think we learned something. Not sure if all matchups taught us something in or out. Before we get too far into that, though, Sunbelt Syndicate. This show is going to be called The Wrap. With you from the first kick to the last pitch. Football, basketball, baseball, the websites even got some stuff on Olympic sports thanks to Kyle, who you can go check out his articles. He's already got one out based on Olympic sports. I can see him working on another one in the background. So definitely continue to keep checking out sunbeltsyndicate.com to keep up with just about every sport you can think of within the Sunbelt. But this one specifically is going to wrap up week one in Sunbelt football. And Marv, you got to see one in person.
Yeah, we got to see the same one. App State, UNC Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. And, man, it was good to be back watching football. It was good to see a good brand of football from, obviously, our team that we both went to school there. So it was just awesome to have football season back in full swing. Just life feels complete now.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to meet up. That was just a cluster. For those of you that watched Wednesday's show from last week with TJ Corman, I was supposed to meet up with TJ. I was supposed to meet up with Marv. I was supposed to meet up with Seth. That one actually did happen for some short periods of time. But it's kind of a cluster when you're in a big city, not as familiar. It's not like we're in Boone, Marv, where we know the lay of the land and say, "Hey, meet me on the corner of this and this," and you know exactly where that is or where this landmark is. A whole lot different when you're in a big city like Charlotte trying to figure out where I need to go and where to meet you.
Yeah, especially with all the stuff going on outside the stadium. It was a little chaotic, but I got to see Seth for a second as well. I didn't get to see anybody else, but once again, just happy to be at a football game.
Yeah, it was a good time to be had. The atmosphere was pretty good. We'll get into that one specifically before we get along too far. Our new sponsors this year, Don't Sleep Energy. Had some fun with some Don't Sleep on the way to the game. I took a little bit before, and I was up pretty good, pretty late, so it works. It is a very effective product. If you are into the energy drinks, be sure to check them out. We will have the link down below at the end. And then Phenom. They have mostly football products right now, football gloves, football cleats. I know TJ's son probably is going to get into looking into some of that stuff. Marv's kids play baseball, which Phenom has a baseball line as well. So maybe we can start looking at all that. We will have a promo code link below on them as well. And let's get into this first matchup. As we know, we talked about the UNC Charlotte App State game. That was Friday night. This one was Thursday night. Actually got the Sunbelt action going. We did have all 14 teams in action this week, so we will go through all 14. But ULM started us off, and Marv, this one was supposed to start, a decent hour, and with the weather delay, the lightning a little bit later. How much of this one did you end up getting to see?
Maybe 3 minutes. I think I flipped to it as the second half was starting, and it was 10-0. I was like, man, I expected ULM to be up by a little bit more than that, and then with work the next day and having to travel to Charlotte, I did not get to watch much of it at all.
Yeah, I think that happened for a lot of us. I was kind of somewhat similar to your boat. I mean, I definitely watched more than 3 minutes, but I was planning on starting this one, at 7, I think, or 7:30, whenever that one kicked off. I can't remember exactly at this point now, but it was delayed at least an hour, if not closer to 2. I feel like by the time this one actually went live, because of that, I ended up falling asleep. But did get to take in a vast majority of that beforehand. And I'm with you. A slow start, a sluggish start for ULM to get things going. And looks like it didn't hurt them in the end, though, right? 29-0. The first shutout, I believe, for ULM in over a decade, if I remember reading correctly. So a pretty big win. Unfortunately, because of the weather, the attendance was pretty putrid. I see people giving them crap, man. I can't agree with it. If that kind of weather happened anywhere, you're going to see a greatly diminished crowd, especially on a weekday night when the game's now going to start later. And, some people don't come prepared, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't hold to the people that too much, right? This isn't a late season top 25 matchup. This is an early season FCS opponent. The weather's not good. You're expected to win. You probably got work or school the next day. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you can take it or leave it. I mean, obviously a lot of anticipation, right? New season, everything's on the horizon if you want to talk coach speak, but you know that on the head. Thursday night, crappy weather, an opponent that you have zero hatred towards. You think you're going to win big anyway, which you ended up getting the win. For folks that have kids or, like you said, have work the next day, you're not sticking around for much of that. So I get it. You'd love to have the stadium packed every single time, but, Mother Nature wins.
Yeah. And I don't blame anyone for leaving. I used to be the one, don't leave games early, this and that, man. Just live your life. If you got something that you need to do it, and you can watch it on the phone. You can now watch it on the phone, right? You can watch it on the phone as you drive home. Like, it's okay. You could still be just as good of a fan. You're not worse because you have to go and do something else. So yeah, I can't agree with anyone giving them too hard of a time. One of the big question marks coming into this season, they lose the top running back from last year. Now they've got Braylon McReynolds, who goes for over 100 yards on just 11 carries, so an average of just over 10 yards per touch. That one was really the thing that stuck out to me, right? Like, can they replace the production they lost? Yeah. And it looks like in the early season, right, this isn't the toughest opponent, but that's still a good beginning, a good start for the offensive line and the running back to get that kind of a game, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had 311 rushing yards as a team, which is good, which they needed because honestly, their quarterback play was not phenomenal. You would think, and so an FCS opponent that you could kind of come out there and show off all the positive on both phases of the offense, running and passing, but the passing game just didn't seem to click. Run game, 311 yards. I don't think there's any coach or any fan base in the country that if you said, hey, you're going to run for 311 yards today, you can be like, yes, sir, we're going to get a win, right? Control the clock means offensive line's clicking. But, yeah, quarterback play's got to get better. And touching on the shutout, I mean, they held St. Francis to 131 total yards, which, if you're going to run for 310 and you're going to hold the opposing offense to 130, you're probably going to have the result that you want. But I think going forward for ULM, they just need to see the quarterback and receivers get on a little bit, better schedule with one another. And if you can run the ball, for half of that production and the pass game comes alive, they'll probably win a couple football games.
Yeah, I think so. I like the defense last year. That was really what helped them in the early part of the season where they upset just Troy and JMU. Like, this team wasn't a nobody. They were remembered a little bit for how they ended the season, which wasn't great. They didn't really get blown out in many of those games either, though. So just keep in mind, this team is very dangerous. Brian Vincent has a lot on his shoulders as an interim AD and head coach right now. But ULM could be a threat. We've got Joe jumping in from Troy Boy saying, let's get it. He was a little down. I listened to the season preview from the Troy Boys, a little down on his boys, but they got the thing going and turned the tide a little bit in this first game, and we'll get to them here shortly. But we will touch now on the App State UNC Charlotte game, a game that was hosted within the city that the other school resides. But I agree with this number that I had seen thrown out, which was probably about 70-30 in the stands in favor of App State, right?
Yeah, I mean, the App side was completely full from top to bottom. The Charlotte side was a little sparse as you got more towards the top. It definitely felt like more of a home game for App than it did for Charlotte. But if you take into consideration how long each program's been around, they've only been playing football for, a decade now. And obviously notoriously App State fans travel well, and Charlotte's the biggest alumni base for App State. So I don't know if it was quite as bad as 70-30 it could have been. I would probably say 60-40 would be more realistic. But App fans showed up and were loud.
Yeah. The one thing that was extremely noticeable, this is just a thing to, you probably didn't see this on TV, and Marv, I know you're going to remember this part. At some point, they started kind of jumping back and forth between fans, alternating essentially between App and Charlotte fans. And at first, it was just kind of like, oh, okay. Well, at some point, they put this guy on who was, a little bit more animated, I guess, for Charlotte, and the App contingent started to boo him. And then when they switched from him to an App fan, they got loud and cheered for the App fan. It doesn't matter who it was. It was kids, adults. It didn't matter. College kids. But every time they would go back to a Charlotte Charlotte person, it would get a loud boo. They jump back to an App person, a very loud cheer, which just made it extremely noticeable. Like
Yeah.
you said, whether it was 70-30 or 60-40, that was probably the biggest tell of the night when you just heard the vocal section of that portion of the game, right?
Yeah, and I think at that point of the game, it was a little bit decided what the outcome
True.
was going to be. So that could have had a little bit to do with it as well. But like I said, a lot of App fans there. I thought UNC Charlotte had a fair amount of fans there also. It was a little bit lighter than the crowd when we played ECU there 3 or 4 years ago. But, once again, man, it was really good to watch App State play football again and see what I thought was a pretty decent product overall on the field.
Yeah, immensely impressed in the end with what AJ Swan did. I was told in the first half by TJ O'Sullivan, who's running the website and been a part of a bunch of shows. Really impressed with Swan's play. And I'm like, I don't know. He doesn't look bad, but he hasn't won me over yet. And he threw out his stat line. And I said, I did not realize that, right? Yeah. I didn't realize he was quite that good in the first half. And he was mistake-free, 0 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, goes for 368, right? 368 yards total on 31 of 46. I mean, just all around a great debut. I don't know if you want to touch on him or someone else specifically from this game, Marv, but thoughts on AJ Swan, first of all, for sure.
No, I kind of had a similar feeling as you. In the first quarter, it looked like he sailed a lot of passes. Like he just wasn't settling his feet and kind of was throwing everything high. And then you look at his stats at halftime, and you're like, holy crap, he's having a really good game. He should have had 4 touchdown passes. There was the big play in the first quarter where the receiver got a little lackadaisical with the football as he crossed the goal line and got it stripped from him. But, you read the stat line that you just read, and pretty freaking impressive. Almost 400 yards, should have had 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. He had a great game. I thought the offensive line gave him a ton of time. I think he only got sacked once, and then Dominion running the ball was really good as well. And we kind of touched on it before we started this. Like, we're still getting to know the rosters from every team, specifically even App State, which we're both fans of. You get 30 plus new players. It's really hard to kind of know who everyone is and what they can do. But they start off a little sluggish, but I think they got it rolling. Defense played lights out, in my opinion. Kept us in that game until the offense could get going. It was really good to see, no big chunk plays really for us. And special teams, besides a couple of kick returns that went backwards, the kicking game was pretty phenomenal as well. So I take that all with a grain of salt because I don't know how good this Charlotte team is. Like, what does a measuring stick look like? To be completely honest, from what I saw, I don't think they're that good. And I don't think you'll learn a lot about App next week with their opponent. But good start. Glad for Coach Loggins to get his first head coach win and see what they can build on after this.
Yeah, as an App fan, like you said, a young program in UNC Charlotte, I'm just glad that we didn't lose. I had no idea what to make of this game going in. Like you said, too much roster turnover to feel very confident. I was pretty sure we'd win. I did not know how much. Once we saw this game transpire, very impressed. I really liked what we saw. They didn't do anything overly flashy. In fact, some of the flashier stuff they did just ended up harming them, like the reverse on the kickoff, just kind of ugly and unnecessary. The guy beside me in the stands, I didn't end up getting his name, but I said that looked like something they called, and they said they were going to do it kind of no matter what because it was just not there from the beginning. Like he should have never made it out of the end zone. He caught it like up above his head. Just, okay, call that play off. Take the knee, say, coach, it wasn't the right time. He's not going to be mad at you because he's going to realize you were almost 10 yards deep in the end zone, catching this thing over your head and then trying to make something out of nothing. But yeah, I think, like you said, these are little mistakes. They got a whole nother week where they might have a similar outcome, maybe even better than this, to get into really. Well, actually, they'll get into conference play in week 3 against Southern Miss, so that it's really important that they, get another good game under their belts before that happens.
Weeks 3, 4, and 5 are daunting. I mean, on the road to Southern Miss, on the road to Boise, even though Boise got handled pretty easily, and then Oregon State at home. Like, that's you're going to know exactly what you have in that 3-week stretch.
And we won't touch too much on this, but Ben does bring up a question that we've seen a lot as App people and just, people in general. Thoughts on former App State quarterback Joey Aguilar for Tennessee. I will outright admit I did not watch much of that game. I love to see Joey do well. I really like Joey. I was one who thought he should have been the starter going into his junior year at App State. That's how much I had thought of him through film that I had seen. Ended up playing well for us that year, very well for us. Last year felt like he forced some stuff. Look, I thought behind an SEC line with SEC weapons to throw to and an SEC running back to help the game out, he'll be just fine. Is he going to be phenomenal? I don't know, but I'd lean more towards yes after this first outing. But I mean, here's what I'll say. Maybe take, a few bucks chance on a Heisman thing. Just throw it in there, see what happens. It's early. Arch didn't look good in his first outing, so I don't know. Marv, just thoughts on Joey before we move on here?
Big fan of Joey. Obviously, because of the NIL thing, we knew we couldn't keep him, right? Like, it was lucky that we kept him after his first season, but would have been cool to see what he could have done with Coach Loggins, who is a quarterback coach, to help him out. But like you said, you give him a whole bunch of fancy, shiny SEC playmakers and toys to play with, and he looked like Joey Aguilar. He's like you said, he's going to do some things that make you scratch your head. He's a gunslinger, but with the guys that he has there, he can take those chances, and I think he's going to do really well for Tennessee. Wish him nothing but the best. I mean, you're talking about a kid that came non-recruited from JUCO, comes to App, isn't even slated to be the starter, and now he's starting for one of the better teams in the SEC. So I wish him nothing but the best, and I got to watch a little bit of the game, and he looked good. He looked like Joey.
Yeah. I mean, I that one deep bomb was like, yep, I know he could. We've seen him make that play, so that wasn't surprising. So, yeah. Anyway, best of luck to Joey moving forward. Not a Tennessee fan at all, but I definitely have a soft spot in my heart for Joey Aguilar and who he is and what he did for App State while he was here. All right. Another big-time program, but this one headed on the road to Hattiesburg. Mississippi State came into town. This was kind of an upset special for me going into the weekend. I thought, Mississippi State hasn't been great. Southern Miss.
They were 10 last year.
Right. So I'm thinking, okay, rosters can flip. It is the SEC. It's not like it's an easy schedule. So 2-10, they're probably better than what that record looks like if they play in most other conferences. However, they're going on the road here with a fan base and a team that has a ton of excitement because they've completely flipped their roster. They only won one game last year, but you knew they were going to, very likely to win a lot more than that this year, I guess I should say, because technically they haven't won one yet. This one was close early, though. I liked what I saw early. It was a really quick strike by Mississippi State to get the scoring going, which wasn't great. But it felt like, and I don't know if that was the text thread with you or it was just Seth, but I said it felt like one of those App State games early in the year. A quick strike by the other team. A lot of people think, oh, it's over. We're going to win this thing easily. And they don't go away. Southern Miss doesn't go away. They keep chipping away. They make this a game at halftime for sure. And then it just kind of slowly lost it. This 34-7 was at no point was it really an onslaught to me. It was just kind of like, okay, they didn't quite get that. And they didn't quite get the tackle. And now it's just kind of getting a little worse, but it was never really ugly. I don't know.
No, it could have been. So keep in mind in that first half, Mississippi State had 2 touchdowns called back for penalties and ended up settling for field goals on both of those. So it could have been a little bit worse, but Southern Miss is going to be really good in the sunbelt this year, in my opinion. Coach Huff brings a lot of guys with him. Braylon Braxton looked really good, in my opinion. Just looking at stats, 26 for 39 for right at 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, ran for another 58 yards. But, yeah, I mean, you go into halftime down 13-10, and then Mississippi State just, like you said, slowly, methodically rattles off 3 consecutive touchdowns in the third quarter, and they could just never really kind of get back out of that. But it could have been worse in the first half. There were 2 touchdowns that were called back. They had to settle for field goals on.
Yeah, that's a great point. I also, with quarterbacks and interceptions, I really wish there was a way to separate those. Like, was it just an errant throw? I'm not talking about Braylon specifically on this one, but, when you look at the other side of things too, I'm like, I can't remember what Shapen's interception looked like at this moment in time or Braxton's. It's like, is it a one that the receiver could have easily had and they were the ones who messed it up? Because I feel like there's got to be some better way to measure whether these interceptions are really and truly on the quarterback or if it was, he got hit in the chest and he didn't make the catch, type of thing. That's just a little side note. But yeah, I'm like you. I was impressed with it overall from certain players' standpoint. I thought the defense for Southern Miss would actually be a little bit better. I was kind of, they were making tackles for the most part, but the problem was sometimes they were making them 10, 12, 15 yards downfield because there was nobody near the guy when he got the ball. Now, once the form tackle was an element of the game, there wasn't really an issue there. I don't remember Southern Miss really missing a lot of tackles or anything like that, but there was just too many times where there was a miscommunication or something happening on the defensive side where one of the wideouts was completely wide open on a route that wasn't even a deep shot or something like that. And, when you give that much time and space to an SEC opponent, I don't care whether they were 2-10 or 12-2, they're going to make the most of it against you. So just a little bit too many mistakes, I guess you could say, there for USM, which also isn't shocking, right?
No, I mean, listen, you talked about, was this what you expected? Did I expect them to win? No. Did I think that they could? Could this have been the upset alert of the week? Yeah, it could have been, but they hung tough for a little while. Once again, it could have been a little bit worse, but that's a respectable score in my opinion. And
yeah,
like I said, new coaching staff. So many, I think, what is it, 50-something new players in Hattiesburg? So. Yeah, I mean, you give them a couple more weeks, and I think they're going to be a really, really good football team. I mean, if you just wanted my dark horse for someone to be in a championship game after seeing week one, I would say that right now Southern Miss looks like they could represent in the championship game. So we'll see how it works out for them, but not a bad start. I thought Braylon played pretty well.
Yeah, and to your point, Ed says one of the stats that may have gone overlooked was sacks. Braylon was not sacked at all. This says a lot for pass blocking and also says something for Braylon being able to get out of the pocket. He was also the leading rusher on the day with 58 total yards. So some of those times when he could have been sacked, he's also just getting out of there because he's elusive enough to do so.
Yeah, he's shifty. He's a true dual threat quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely is. This one got ugly pretty quick, and it's really not shocking, right? I think I've seen some type of it's not a stat, but some type of statement by someone that alluded to the fact Georgia's roster is roughly somewhere between like $30 and $40 million worth of players and talent on their team. So if you're going to tell me that a first-year head coach with a roster that, just like Southern Miss, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, like had to go in and replace a lot of guys, is going to come in and compete with an SEC team that's expected to be in the college football playoff, be one of the last 3-4, standing teams within this thing. I'm not totally shocked that this loss occurred. You just want to see it be a little bit closer. I mean, you want to see Marshall score 20 points and Georgia only score, 38 or something, but not shocking, right, Marv?
No, and I think Marshall's touchdown was, if I'm not mistaken, was kind of late in the game, trash time touchdown. Listen, you knew that Marshall was probably going to be in a bad spot to start the season. So it's 80 new players. I mean, that's little. There's 85 scholarships. You pretty much have a brand new team, brand new coach. This is exactly what I expected. I actually expected it to be a little bit worse, if I'm just being honest. Georgia's a semi-pro football team going up against this rebuilt roster. So hopefully they get it together. Marshall does, but they had to know they were walking into a juggernaut.
Yeah, I mean, this was going to be tough. I mean, you have two Doak Walker early season candidates on Marshall's roster in the backfield. So those are two transfers who came in. These aren't guys that were there last season. But, I mean, there you go. The top rusher for the day, Williams Thomas, had 24 yards for the Marshall Thundering Herd. So that's tough to see. But it makes sense. Georgia is loaded. It is completely loaded. This is not a microcosm of what Marshall's season will be, in my opinion. This is a team somewhat similar to Southern Miss. I think with a first-year head coach at any level, you have to temper some expectations a little bit more than you would for like Coach Huff at Southern Miss now. But I still think this is a coach and the coaching staff and the players that they brought in that will build and get better throughout the rest of this season.
Yeah, you would hope so. Like I said, and I think this is going to be a theme throughout the year, right? Like in the new era of college football, when you have so much roster turnover, whether it's players or coaches, and there's not that consistency, and you're always having to learn new people on the line, learn new people on the outside. Offenses are going to be probably a little bit behind defenses, in my opinion, and they just didn't have a great day. I mean, they used 3 quarterbacks in the game, just trying to figure out something and get something going, but put up right at 200 yards. And once again, Georgia's a phenomenal football team. So this is exactly what I expected. Like I said, I thought it could have been worse. I think Georgia probably pulled off a little bit there at the end, but hopefully they get it together, start to gel. Plenty of stuff to fix, right? So they always say the biggest improvement comes in between week 1 and week 2. Let's see what they do next week.
Yep, very
I'll
true.
try to look real quick and see who Marshall has next week. I'll report back on that in a second.
I want to say
Missouri State, it looks
it's Missouri. Yeah.
Missouri State.
FBS newcomer, Missouri State. So that one could go Marshall's way in a score like this. Maybe not quite this bad, but it's possible. I mean, if they got a little anger to take out and a little bit of, build back that they want to show people that they're not a bad team, they could lay it on Missouri State. We'll see.
Here you go. You got your chance.
Yeah, there you go. It sets up for you pretty well. Another game that was roughly similar, I think, when you really break it down as far as Southern Miss and Mississippi State was concerned, is Indiana and ODU. Although I would say Indiana is a better team than Mississippi State currently, ODU may also be a better team than Southern Miss currently, at least at this stage in the game. I mean, Indiana, a CFP team from last year, so it was never going to be easy to go in there, play your first game of the season. But once again, I'd say a pretty respectable score from an ODU team that, yes, they are kind of the conference dark horse, especially in the East.
Yeah. But
they're not a conference favorite by most people. And so to keep a, 2-score game with a team that was in the CFP last year, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Hey, keep in mind that 7 of those points from Indiana came on a punt return. So defensively, they only gave up 20 points. And last year, Old Dominion was just that scrappy team. Their defense kept them in a whole bunch of games, and then they rode the big play. And I mean, Colton Joseph had 2 long rushing touchdowns. I think he took the opening snap for Old Dominion 75 yards for a touchdown, and then got one late in the fourth quarter. But he did throw 3 picks. So when you're in a tight game on the road, throwing the ball to the other team 3 times isn't going to help you, but I think this is exactly what I expected from Old Dominion. Scrappy defense, an offense that maybe sputters at time, but they always have that big play potential. And Colton Joseph, I'm really surprised that he's still at Old Dominion. Dude's fast, right? Like he's a burner. He's a running back at quarterback that also can throw the ball really well. So he's always one snap away from taking it to the house. But to only give up 20 points to a nationally ranked Indiana team, I think that bodes well for them. That this could have been an upset alert, in my opinion. Just needed you can't turn the ball over 3 times. You can't do it.
No, you just can't do that. And that was kind of our question mark, I feel like, last year was, where does Joseph's game progress, right? He's a runner. He's elusive. He's fast. Just like you said, those are all great intangibles for a dual threat quarterback. We need to see more of the dual threat. We need to see the passing come along. And part of that's not on him too, in regards to, he's got quite a few new receivers to work with. So the chemistry, the build isn't quite there at the first game of the season. Again, that's why this score is not bad to look at. I thought this could have been worse, but I was also kind of like you, thinking there is definitely an outside chance of an upset here if ODU plays kind of like they did against South Carolina last season.
Yeah.
But they had a little bit better quarterback play, which I thought they could get from Joseph. But again, there's going to be some time needed with this new receiving core to really get to work and do that. I mean, Joseph was he went 179 yards on the ground, which was almost, I think it was more than double of no, it wasn't quite. It was just less than double what he threw through the air for. So we know where his biggest threat is. It's still the same as last year. Let's see, once he gets into a little bit lesser of an opponent's here, if that comes along a little bit more, because that's the only part of the game that really needs work. He doesn't need work with his feet. That part is not difficult for him at all.
No, if he can start beating teams with his arm, if he can make safeties back up and respect his arm, that's just going to open up everything for their offense. Because right now, if you got a really good spy and you can contain him inside of the pocket, you can force him to throw 3 interceptions. But once again, when he breaks loose, he had a 75-yard touchdown and a 78-yard touchdown. I mean, when he gets outside of the pocket, he's as elusive as you're going to get in the conference, maybe in all of college football. But he's got to get better with his arm. He's got to make defenses respect his arm and back up a little bit, and that'll open everything else up for him. But I think that defense is still really good. Scrappy is the word that I used for them all last year. They don't give you a whole bunch. Like, you earn every yard that you get against them. They're going to keep them in a lot of games.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't disagree there. Jason Henderson returns on that defensive front. Only ends up with 5 total tackles, which is definitely a low point for him. Again, he's going after the NCAA all-time tackles record this year. So, he wants to be up closer to the top of the total tackles for the game, and he was lower than he usually is. But again, that's probably in part due to the talent on the Indiana side of things. So we'll see how ODU continues to progress. We go right from ODU to the in-state rival JMU, who crushes Weber State. It looks like Weber, but it is Weber State. If you ask them, that is how they pronounce it, almost like it has 2 E's in there. But JMU did not struggle with an FCS opponent coming in to Harrisonburg. I think, to me, the biggest surprise out of this was definitely not the score. I didn't think, I thought this was pretty much exactly where you'd want it to be or expect it to be. But Alonzo Barnett III got the start in Harrisonburg. A lot of people question whether he was going to be ready or not for the start of the season. Not only that, they look so good early that Sluka then comes in, and they pretty much both play half a game. So I don't know what your thoughts are on this one, but I think I shared mine because this was exactly what we wanted to see and expected to see, right?
Yeah, I think JMU is still good. I mean, obviously, return your starting quarterback and running back. They both had big games. I think they're maybe the favorite in the East, after week 1, just looking at their performance. And then, you got a pretty darn good backup quarterback as well. JMU's just they're a good football team. They're going to be tough to handle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Petaway 1 yard away from the century mark. It's like, come on, guys. Like, put him back in there late just for 1 more yard.
Give him 1 more.
Yeah, just a stat correction, 1 more. That's all he needed.
I think he had 2 touchdowns on 99 yards, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Petaway had 0 touchdowns.
Okay, all right. My notes are out of order here.
But both of the quarterbacks each had 1. Wayne Knight had 1, and J.C. Evans had 1. So they had 4 total touchdowns on the day, but they spread it around a little bit. So there you go. Speaking of spreading it around, the Virginia Cavaliers unfortunately did that all night against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. This one really never in doubt. Even early on, wasn't all that close for all that long, and it ends 48-7, kind of the opposite of the JMU game we just spoke about here. I don't know. I did not have Coastal coming out with a great record in my preseason prediction just because of how the schedule laid out, and I wasn't really won over. MJ Morris is now on his 3rd team in 3 years. He was at NC State, then he was at Maryland, now he's in Coastal. Sometimes that stuff works out, but I would say for the most part, 3 teams in 3 years isn't something I'd want to see at the starting quarterback position, right?
No, it's not. And listen, I mean, if you look at his stats, he's 20 for 36 for 163, no touchdowns, 1 pick. His average completion was 4.5 yards, which means they're just dinking and dunking it. But they didn't have a running game. UVA, like you said, just kind of did whatever they wanted whenever they wanted to do it. I think they rolled up almost 500 yards of total offense, 467. So, I didn't know what to think of Coastal coming in, but early impression, because I don't think anyone looks at Virginia as like a juggernaut, right? I think if you were to ask me right now, they're going to be a middle-of-the-pack ACC team. You would expect Coastal to give them a better game than what they gave them, but didn't look good.
No, did not look good. Our resident basketball expert, Zach Capps, who actually is writing some football stuff for us too on sunbeltsyndicate.com. So check out his work there. He just did the Southern Miss article this weekend. He thinks they completely beat themselves, mistake after mistake. Get right game this weekend against an FCS team. Have to look dominant or it doesn't look good for Beck. That is a sentiment that I've heard from multiple Coastal Carolina fans already. So, it's time to kind of put up or show up in the Beck era from what I hear from those closer to the program. I'm not talking about the higher ups. I'm just talking about fans that I've been paying attention longer and more closely than I have. But yeah, I don't necessarily disagree, but this is also such a new age of college football. It's hard to say like 3 years is certainly enough time to, do anything phenomenal necessarily, unless you already had a roster and talent.
You used to get 3 years when it was like, hey, let him bring his guys in, let him develop them. Well, development doesn't exist anymore. It's like just bring in the next ready guy. They were 1 for 14 on third down. That says everything that you need to know. They could not sustain drives. Maybe a get right game is exactly what they need. But like you said, if they come out and look pedestrian against an FCS team, you might hear some boos. That seat might get a little warmer.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing there. And I'll take back a little bit of my statement. I said this one was never close. It was only 7-0 at the end of the first quarter. However, that quickly changed to 28-0 at the half. So that second quarter is when the onslaught began and really didn't end much until after that. Zach also says, thought the defense was decent looking too, but they were just always on the field. That's a good point. I did think the defense, especially in the first quarter, was really good. Just didn't give Virginia too much. But you're right, Zach. They didn't get any rest because the offense couldn't sustain anything to stay on the field, and that's always going to be a detriment. Marv, we saw that with App State a lot last year as well with the defense. Probably statistically being worse than they should have been because the offense didn't help them out enough. So we'll see if that continues with Coastal Carolina. Going to go back to Ben James' comment here. Big-time Arkansas State fan finally getting to their game against SEMO, that's Southeast Missouri. Ben saying Jalen Rayner was unbelievable, and I think he only got sacked twice, got hit a couple times, he spun out of it, and then completes the pass. He is just insane, and we did kind of know that going in, right? Also, just local North Carolina guy, so shouting out our own home state here for Marv and I. But yeah, this is one that went drastically different from their game against FCS opponent Central Arkansas last year, in which they had a touchdown within the last second or two of the game
to win.
That should not have been, right? They literally officially reviewed it by, league or NCAA officials and said that the call was incorrect. But guess what? They messed it up on the field. Arkansas State came away with the win. Lucky to get out of there against an in-state opponent. And this year they turned on the heat and looked like the team they should have probably last season. So 42-24 besides Rayner, or if there's something more specific, Marv, you have on Rayner in this one?
345 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty good opening week. I mean, it was 42-10. Southeast Missouri got 2 late touchdowns to make the score look closer to what it was. They were able to move the ball through the air. Southeast Missouri, they had 272 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. But Rayner, absolutely unbelievable. Leader of that team. If you want to beat Arkansas State, you're going to have to slow him down.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that surprised me a little bit was I didn't really know who the starting running back was going to be. I shouldn't say that. I thought the starting running back was going to be Jaquez Cross because of what he had done last year, but he's used kind of as a utility knife, so he's kind of all over the field. Kenyon Clay, a transfer from Southern Miss, actually had the most carries on the day with 15, but he was not the leading rusher. That was Devin Spencer, who only got 3 carries on the day, had 1 yard more than him for 42 total yards, and that's because he broke off a long of 43.
His next 2 got nothing.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how that played out with the rushing attack there. So a lot of question marks for me still in the running back room. It's not a bad thing. It's just right now that those stat lines are just all over the place for me to say that they have one really strong running back that they're going to use throughout the majority of the season. It looks like it's going to be maybe by committee. And we know Rayner can certainly run when he needs to, but he's not really like a top end speed running back or quarterback like Colton Joseph is.
Yeah.
But he can certainly get out of trouble to, a pretty good extent and extend the play. So Ben is saying the running back room is loaded. Yeah, I don't think it's talentless. I'm just saying you want to know after this kind of a game that, you've got this is your guy, right? 3rd and 2 late in the game. You don't need a pass. You want to run that thing up there. Who are you going to go with, right? So it'll just be interesting to see how that goes. He's got an interesting note here. SEMO's quarterback was 6'8". That's a big guy. So I did not realize.
That's a big deal.
Tall. Yeah, that's pretty insane. That's pretty insane. He said A-State was good at stopping the run on defense as well. And for the first time ever, which is still weird to think about, Arkansas State is taking on Arkansas this week. I wasn't going to touch too much on games, but that one's a big note that we've made note of a couple times. But, yeah, that's a huge game, and I'm hoping for Arkansas State to hopefully just look phenomenal no matter the outcome. But I would love to see a win because that would be great. Like the team that never gives you a shot, you finally get your chance. Let's take advantage and see what happens.
Yeah,
this one, another weird.
Go ahead and beat them.
Yeah, there you go. This one, South Alabama taking on Morgan State, not, your typical big rivalry matchup. So I don't really know what to think about how often these two teams have even played. But South Alabama, maybe a little bit of a sluggish start and couldn't really break away, but they do end up beating Morgan State 38-21 on this one. Bishop Davenport named the starting quarterback to the surprise of some because they thought, I don't know who, I'm going blank on the name. I think it was a Pittsburgh transfer. Zach Pyron, I believe, actually, was the Pittsburgh transfer that a lot of people expected to come in and possibly be the starter because he's coming from a Power 4 institution. But if you watch the games last year, Bishop Davenport was kind of a almost clone of Gio Lopez when he came onto the field. So, yeah, thoughts on this one, Marv?
Davenport's 12 of 14. He didn't throw the ball much, but super efficient when he did. 2 touchdowns. Running back Kentrell Ballard, 23 carries, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Big difference in this game. Morgan State turned the ball over 4 times. South Alabama got 17 points off of those 4 turnovers, and there's a difference in the game.
Yeah, Bullock was on the roster last year, but he was behind a lot. Yeah, all good. We all do it. He was behind Fluff Bothwell on the depth chart, and we know Fluff now at Mississippi State, who just went up against Southern Miss. But there's not a far drop-off, and I don't mean that as disrespect to Fluff, but Bullock was really good last year too. He just obviously didn't see the field as much as Fluff did. So their running back room really didn't take a hit. Their quarterback room took a hit, but to what extent? Because I think Bishop's a really good quarterback. I'm excited to see what he could do for this Jags team as they continue to march on. Any other news or notes of this one? I think you nailed it really well, though. Morgan State shot themselves in the foot just too often to be really competitive in this one.
They did, and just follow up on the quarterback room. Excited to see what Gio does tomorrow night. Carolina taking on TCU to see Bill Belichick see something in him. He brought him in and named him the starting quarterback. And I have flashbacks of the South Alabama coming to Boone last year on a Thursday night, and Gio looked like he could have won a Heisman that night. So, let's see what that. But no, like I said, good win. You can say that Morgan State shot themselves in the foot for 4 turnovers, but South Alabama caused 4 turnovers and capitalized with 17 points off of that. So, looked like a pretty good balance between run and pass. See how the season goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think a little highly of South Alabama than I did coming in. That's hard to say, like you said. It's Morgan State's hard to judge a lot. This one's interesting. Troy beats Nichols 38-20. Troy fans really seemed unhappy with their performance. Fine, they're happy with the win.
10 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, so I don't know. I will be honest. I did not see much. Actually, I don't know if I saw any of this one particularly. I got to go back and watch this one yet. But when I just see the score, I'm like, okay. I thought I did actually, because week 0 allowed me to watch a lot of the Nichols game in week 0. And for an FCS opponent, was very impressed. Thought they were a pretty well-rounded team. I knew that they could compete in the first half with Troy. I didn't expect them to kind of play a little bit closer than that for a little bit longer, but Troy woke up and, they ended up winning this game by 18. I don't know. Other news on this one, Marv?
So Troy's defense, a couple of notes I had written down. Troy, well, first off, they were down 20-17 with 10 minutes left to go in the game, and they closed with 3 straight touchdowns. So good on them for being able to close out a game. Defense, 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, so they were in the backfield a lot. Troy ran the ball really well, 273 yards on the ground, and Trey Meadows, 23 carries, 186 yards and a touchdown. Week 1, right? New rosters, blah, blah, blah. We're going to sound super redundant on this, but maybe they had to work out some kinks, but I don't think anybody would have wanted to be down by 3 points with 10 minutes left to go to an FCS team. So good on them for closing it out. Maybe it was a slow start. We'll see. Maybe they started to figure things out as the game went along, but probably didn't want to scare the fan base like that on opening weekend.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, if you told me the stat line for Goose, 14-24, 144, 3 touchdowns against an FCS opponent, I'd be like, oh, yeah, they must have won comfortably. And again, by the end score, if you didn't know the details that you just said, Marv, maybe people assume that, they were up, 28-7 and Nichols scored 2 late and Troy's added another 1 or 2 towards the end. But no, that is not how it went. So that's why it's important to watch these games. Like I said, I got to go back and watch this one to see just how crazy, of an ending this was here. But, statistically, they got some players, right? Goose and Meadows there both looking really good as far as that's concerned. Yeah, and Goose also looked like spread it out. Yeah, they did.
I mean, 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. I mean, as a defensive unit, you'll be really happy with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Warren, Troy fan saying until running game kicked in and was off. Wait, till running game kicked in was off. I think we're missing just one word there somewhere, but
I think we're trying to pick up what you're putting down there, Warren.
Yeah, I think so. I think I got it too, but just missing a little bit there. But Artie's jumping in. Hey, y'all, we haven't got to your team yet, Artie. So stick with us, man. That one's one he's going to be prideful in this week.
Yeah, I think Texas scored again.
Yeah. This one was one I did try and watch. I actually wrote the recap article on this one specifically. Pretty out of hand, pretty fast, and really didn't improve. Ole Miss 63, Georgia State just 7 points on the night. I'll let you start off more on this one, Marva. Any notes?
I wrote down. I didn't watch the game, and I wrote down 0 notes in this game. There was nothing newsworthy, to be completely honest with you. They just got absolutely handled. That's what you would expect if Ole Miss played an FCS team, not an FBS team.
Yeah. In the recap I mentioned that Ole Miss's offense was statistically the 3rd best as far as points per game go last season. So it looks like they're well on their way to being up there within the top 5 again. We'll see. Lane Kiffin, he's a pretty good wizard with the offensive weapons and what he can do with them. It showed in this game. I will say this, that first quarter, Austin Simmons is the quarterback for Ole Miss, throws 2 picks. One in the end zone, so they were threatening on those drives. But Georgia State looked like they had a shot there in the first quarter. They bend but don't break offensively, defensively. They were looking pretty solid. But again, just like we talked about earlier, if that defense can't stay off the field and you're facing an offense with that type of talent, they also drove down the field within, I think it was under a minute, 65 seconds or something maybe for their very first touchdown. They are a fast up-tempo offense at Ole Miss. As soon as they get the ball to the official, they are like running back to the line to get set and then snap the ball again. That is tough for you to prepare for, right? But they did the best they could. Ole Miss is really dang good.
All right, 2 things to stick out. Ole Miss had 695 yards of total offense. 695. And Georgia State was 2 for 15 on 3rd down. So there you go.
Yeah, you got to get your offense to stay on the field, and you got to get your defense to get off of it. And it wasn't working well together between the two of them. But again, that is more to do with the talent at Ole Miss than saying Georgia State's going to be not a good team. I think it's far too early to say that with a lot of these teams and a lot of these matchups we've seen. But certainly this one is one, just like the Georgia-Marshall game. I think it's a little too early to judge a whole season based off some two really good opponents.
It really, if you're looking for a bright spot, Rashad Amos, 9 carries for 68 yards. Quarterback play was horrendous. 12 for 25 for 69 yards. That's just not going to get it done.
No, yeah, and they went with two of them. Just
They did,
neither
and
one of them could stick.
yeah, just tough game. We'll chalk that up to first week jitters and just
There you go.
the game never happened. Memory of a goldfish and move on to next week.
There you go. Artie Cat says he's been chilling and listening this evening. We appreciate that. Great show. Thank you very much, Artie. Zach jumping back into, how about the Georgia Southern player snatching the guy's chain before the game? Crazy. Yeah, so I didn't see that until after the game. I didn't see the initial interaction or hear exactly why it transpired, but he did snatch the chain off an opposing player. Apparently he had some issues at Auburn before ending up at Georgia State. He then takes the chain and chucks it into the stands. I don't know what repercussions happened because of that at the moment, but I can tell you
63-7 happened.
Well, that happened. He also himself did not touch the field, whether that was because the coach knew of that incident or it just happened to be that he wasn't going to play that day. I'm not sure. But yeah, that there was some type of incident. We may hear something more come out of that. I really don't know. It didn't seem to be a physical confrontation, you know. I don't know how not. If you get a chain snatched, I would assume that's fist, but apparently not. Maybe the guy was smart enough to know if I hit you, I'm out. So I'll just, I'll let other guys deal with it. But it did happen. Definitely video evidence of him chucking it as far as he can towards the stands or into the stands, as some people reported. Artie Cat says the Georgia State blue safety work of reflective pant stripe are hideous. Yeah, I'm not sure what the thought process is there. I like the top, but the pants, I can agree with you. I'm not sure the design aspect of that.
Just go all blue. You're fine. Or like a white pinstripe down the side.
Yeah, there you go. The Herd Dispatch. I'm ready to get to the Marshall blowout. Well, we've blown past the blowout of Marshall with the Thundering Herd and the Bulldogs matching up there. Zach Bryant the same night made up for it though. Insane concert. Yeah, I think that would, and probably a better show to be at in that regard. Artie says that's why I wear numerous chains like Mr. T. That's awesome. I want a picture of that. We gotta get a picture of Artie and then put Mr. T's chains on them.
Mr. All Chain. Right. That's funny.
Let me see if I can get back up to this comment from Ben as we get to this one. Yes, here we go. I'd say the Sun Belt's most noticeable loss was Louisiana losing to Rice, and I 100% agree with this. Before the season, you're looking at a possible college.
I literally had written down worst loss of the week.
Yes, without a doubt. The college football playoff hopeful, the West favorite Cajuns, a newly renovated stadium, a lot of excitement coming in with Walker Howard now, kind of the local guy coming to save the day at the quarterback position. And they had a chance late to tie this up with a 2-point conversion that was failed. They then got the ball back another time with about a minute or so left, 4th and 10, and the pass was really just nowhere near anyone. So a really, really disappointing loss to start the season at home for the Cajuns. Not only did I think the Cajuns would win, I thought they'd cover the spread. I thought this one could get ugly. I didn't think Rice was a very good football team. I don't know. What do you got on this one, Marv?
I agree with everything that you said. Favored by 9.5. Quarterback play was terrible. 10 for 28 for 88 yards and an interception. Only had 239 yards of total offense and lost the time of possession 23 minutes to 37 minutes. Defense clearly did enough to keep them in the game, but the offense was not what I thought anyone thought it was going to be. It was just bad.
Yeah. I don't know how, you look at the stat line for the Rice quarterback, this kid named Chase Jenkins. Did you see this stat line? 7 for 9 for just 45 yards passing, and you lost the game to him.
They ran the ball
that is
3 times.
Yeah, that's true.
They ran the ball 53 times, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Louisiana ran it 31 times. They're built on the running offense, right? They got Bill Davis, Xylon Perry. is over there too. I mean, they got talent. Walker Howard actually had a run of 25, which I believe was a touchdown run actually. So yeah, I mean, I just didn't see this coming, I guess, is really why I just caught off guard by this one specifically.
Did they pull
I'm not
Walker
sure.
Howard at some point during the game?
No, he actually got kind of banged
hurt.
up towards the end, and that's why Daniel Beal went in.
Came
myself was
2 for 6.
Yeah, that was
6.
not good.
No,
that last pass,
when your starter goes 10 for 22, I mean, it's just once again, you got to get better at the quarterback spot.
Yeah. I was myself hoping to see a little bit of Lunch Winfield, the guy I've been kind of talking about for what seems like the past 3 seasons now. When you include this one, I'm ready to see him get his chance to shine. He is a true dual threat quarterback. He could be electrifying on the field. I hope he gets his shot. No ill will towards the other guys, but I just want to see him get a shot because I think he's going to be good, and I think he's going to be fun for these Cajun fans to watch. But we'll see. They got bigger problems to worry about right now than a little spark. They need something bigger than just a spark. But we'll see. Artie Cat saying, I'm loving this Lafayette lost to those Rice nerds, honestly. Rice desperately needs a stadium-size downgrade. It's like an empty tomb in there, almost entirely tarped off. Yeah. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Rice is a very small private school along the lines of like Wake Forest or Duke. So I guess if your football program hasn't been good in a long time, then people lose interest. Plus, you're in Texas, so if your football's not good, people have lots of other options to go to.
Yes, they do.
Touch it back on the Herd Dispatch. He loves what we do. Keep it up, and we appreciate that. So thank you very much for tuning in. And jumping over here to Texas State and Eastern Michigan. This one, I actually was impressed with this one. I thought Texas State would win, but those MAC teams can be a little pesky. Sometimes you just don't know what to make of them coming into the season. Texas State, I think we've said this a couple times, biggest offensive line in all of college football. That shows right here with a 52-27 final score opening the season at home on a high note. I mean, it was a party all around. They literally had a Pac-12 celebration by drones in the sky after, I think it was a halftime show. But yeah, it's just a party down in San Marcos, that's for sure.
Well, they had a lot of reason to party. 606 yards of total offense. Quarterback Brad Jackson and wide receiver Bu Spikes connected on 4 touchdown passes. We kind of made the comments last year that their offense could be PlayStation-esque at times. And, even with some of the departures, they moved the ball pretty darn efficiently this weekend. So 52 points, 606 yards of offense, pretty good start.
Yeah, just very consistent across the boards. Their scores by quarter were 14-10, 14-14. When you get that kind of consistency, you're more likely to end up in the win column every time. Just an interesting note, former Coastal Carolina quarterback Noah Kim, now the leader of the band there in Eastern Michigan, went 23 of 34 for 248 and a touchdown for Eastern Michigan, or EMU there. So just interesting to see that he goes up against a former conference opponent. I don't believe while he was on Coastal's roster, they played Texas State because he was only there for a year. Don't know if that's a matchup that happened last year or not, but Artie Cat chiming in saying Eastern's not the best. Next week is the UTSA game. That's what matters most, running over the Road Runners. And that one definitely a big time rivalry down there in the state of Texas. Did you say you did look that up, Marv, whether they played before?
No, I didn't look it up. Sorry.
Okay. Gotcha. No problem. I thought maybe you said you were going to look it up or something. We'll move on to our last matchup, our late night game. If you like to stay up really late at night, you could do it again this weekend because Georgia Southern not only played Fresno State this past week, they'll play USC this coming week, and they are staying in California.
Do they even come home, or they just stay out there?
No, we confirmed with Gata Talk last week on the live show on Wednesday that they will be staying in California, which I think is a smart move, especially after this game, which honestly, even people that dislike Georgia Southern, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Fresno State had kind of a struggle last week. I think a lot of people thought Georgia Southern could win this one even rather easily. This game was close in the first half.
They were up at half.
Yeah, up 14-13 at the half. So a very close game, back and forth type of affair. And then I don't know what happened. It just completely fell apart, and Fresno State literally started running all over them.
Yeah.
So this kid named Bryson Donaldson, 167 yards, only one touchdown. And a couple other running backs behind him actually rushed for a better clip per carry, including quarterback E.J. Warner. And if that name is familiar, yes, that is the son of Kurt Warner, former NFL star quarterback, who's now, I think, on his third or fourth team, because I watched him play in person as he was a Temple Owl as I went up to see my brother in Philly one time. So it looks like he might have finally found the team he needs to be on here in Fresno. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not fans of Georgia Southern here, Marv, as app guys, but I did not see this coming. I really expected a better performance.
No, I think I checked the score as I was going to bed, and it was 14-13, and I was like, oh, man, they're going to be in for a dogfight, right? They're out west. Fresno State turned the ball over 3 times and still just rolled up unanswered point after unanswered point. In the second half, Georgia Southern gave it 427 total yards. They got completely dominated time of possession, 22 minutes to 38 minutes, but you didn't watch any of the game, to be completely transparent. But you look at the halftime score, you think they're going to be in a football game. You wake up the next morning, it's like, what the heck happened in that second half? And yeah, no easier game next week as Clay Helton tries to go get revenge on his old team. And I don't think they're going to want to go back to the West Coast anytime soon after these first 2 weeks of the season.
No, and if you're listening to Artie's comment here, number one rule in Fresno is always stay strapped. So not necessarily a great place to be from the sounds of it. But yeah, I was on the phone with TJ. We're working on website stuff, and I've got the game going on, and we're kind of talking when something happens in play wise. And every time I felt like every time I looked away from the screen as we were working on things, I said to TJ, Fresno just scored again. Fresno just scored again. Oh my God, Fresno just scored again. I just kept saying it. It was unreal. I couldn't believe it. And it just was easy for them. So hopefully Georgia Southern can get it together, because those are the kind of games, whether you like them, love them, or hate them, you want them to win those games, because this is those things that come into play when it comes into media rights deals, right? Which conference is the best in the group of 5? You got to keep beating teams like this so that you can say the sunbelt is the leader of the pack. And right now, after a performance like that, it's going to be hard to sell, because guess what? Georgia Southern was a favorite to win the East coming into the season along with James Madison. So we'll see what happens, transpires there. I think that might about wrap it up. I do have one note for sure, though. I want to make this Dubai chocolate. It's
my wife loves that stuff
everywhere. Okay. It's a scam, man. This is chocolate with a little bit of stuff in it, and it doesn't taste ridiculously any better or good than any other milk chocolate bar I've ever had.
My wife fights you. She thinks it's delicious.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, you want me to pay what I think for this bar right here was $15.99 because it's Lent. Well, but it doesn't matter. Even if it's not this top quality stuff, it's still like $12, $10, whatever dollars it is. You can get a Reese's, which is way better, for like $3 or $4 maybe at the high point. I mean, to me, this is just a scam of a product. Again, it's not bad, but it's just not amazing. I just don't know what the sell is. But yeah, I guess your wife hates me now.
Yeah, my wife is fancy. She thinks she is, at least.
Oh man, what is your thoughts? Have you had it?
I don't think I have, to be completely honest with you.
I heard that there was
I've seen it at the house a couple of times, and I know that she says that she likes it. I try to stay away from chocolate because I'll eat all of it. So I don't think I've tasted it.
That's a good point. I do the same thing. I think most people get that problem, right? But yeah, I won't have a problem with that one. I'll tell you what, I ain't paying that price for a candy bar again. That's for sure. Artie Cat saying Fresno State is one of the largest merchandise sellers in FBS football for jerseys and shirts, which is interesting. I would not have known. It has to do with the Bulldog, maybe? I'm not sure. Oh, he's got an opinion on the chocolate. Here we go. Yeah, a little pricey for the size, taste, etc. Go to local chocolate shop and they give samples to find something you like usually. Yeah. I wish I could have really had a sample before I bought, this candy bar for this size. The wife gave full permission for me to try it at that price point. So I said, hey, well, why not? And I thought it was going to be really good. But the good news is I won't have an expensive chocolate problem. There's the good news. So there you go. And then Neil says that's hard going over to the West Coast. Yeah. But the good news is, like I said, they're going to be staying over there, so they don't have to come back, and then go back, because that I would favor USC and take the spread if that was the case, right? Like, there's just no way, no matter how good of a team you are, that doesn't just totally drain you. Yeah. And I don't really know how you get anything done. Like, what's the point? But Artie Cat saying the violent street gangs wear those colors and the name as well. Okay. Interesting.
Artie makes Fresno, California seem like a just vacation destination.
Yeah. True crime Artie is what we're going to call him from now on. Cops, live PD or whatever. Maybe they had a show. Maybe they did some stuff from Fresno. Who knows? Unfortunately, I know live PD did do stuff in Lafayette, Louisiana. So there's also that. So, yeah. Anyways, before we get out of here, thank you very much for tuning in. Be sure to check out our game recaps on sunbeltsyndicate.com. Just about all of them are live now, I believe. And we will have some stuff coming up throughout the week. So keep tuning in, keep checking the website, and Marv and I will see you for the wrap-up of week 2. Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.